can get started. Just a minute, I have to say that
I just mentioned to Jan that we're leaving a little bit early today because we have to visit a hospital, so we'll just quietly disappear.
Okay. Would anyone like to start? Some questions or comments or some subjects you'd like to have discussed?
Tan, do you have anything you would like to start with?
I think so, but let me try to remember. Oh, in the Satipatana, Sarah, Satipatana, the Kaya Patana, Kaya.
Kayanupasana, yes.
No, in the Satipatana, and there's four sections. There's Kaya, there's
Kayanupasana, yes.
Yeah, Vedana, but I'm just talking about the Kaya one, the body one.
Yes.
The eye seeing and the hearing seeing, is that part of the Kaya?
So first of all, Jan will say more, but we have to understand what is meant by Kaya. So what is Kaya as you understand it?
It's the body is anything on the body, like the eyes, the nose, the ears, the hand, the legs.
Okay, so are we talking about realities or are we talking about concepts, ideas like the body?
Concept, I think. Concept, yep.
But if we're talking about Satipatana, it has to be the understanding of realities.
Yes.
So Kaya means collection. In some contexts, in other suttas, it's referring to the collection of Chaitasikas, the Nama Kaya. But here we're talking about the Rupa Kaya, the collection of rupas, the different rupas that come to be known as the body or the hair or someone. But it's actually referring to it has to refer to the realities. Any rupa can be Kaya Rupa. So we're talking about the understanding, the direct understanding of different rupas that come to be known as body or this person or that person. So usually because there's no understanding of rupa, of what is touched as just hardness, for example, it's taken for my arm, my body. But actually, there are just different rupas arising together in groups. No arm in truth, no self in truth, just different realities, different rupas to be understood. And why does it stress about the rupas in the first place, a Kayanupasana? Because the rupas are what we find so very important, so much clinging to the rupas, taken to be my arm that is so precious, my finger that hurts, my leg that's sore, my this, my that. Actually, they're just different rupas that arise and fall away. So this is what is meant by Rupakaya, the different rupas that are to be understood. And it's not any kind of order or selection. Like now, what appears, it may be Rupa, it may be Nama, it can be Vedana, for example. So it's not a matter, as some people think, of understand the Rupas and then understand the Vedana and then understand the Chittas. Whatever appears, but it has to be the reality.
Thank you so much. I'm a lot clearer understanding now. But my question also regarding about the eye seeing and hearing. So depending the object of understanding, whether it's rupa, so eye seeing is not part of kaya.
What do you mean by eye seeing? What is eye seeing?
The citta.
Why do you say eye seeing?
Because when you there is a seeing, so it has to have to go through the eyes. The
seeing just sees. What it sees is the visible object, and the visible object has to have impinged on the eye sense. Otherwise, there cannot be any seeing of that visible object. So it's
Right.
not the eye sense, it's not the eye that sees. Eye sense is a rupa. It cannot
Yep.
experience anything. It cannot do anything. It's just the rupa that has to have arisen for the visible object to impinge on it in order for the seeing to experience what is visible. But it doesn't see at all. Only the citta, the seeing consciousness, sees. No one, no thing, no eye sense, no visible object, nothing else can see, only the citta itself, the seeing consciousness. Rupas cannot experience anything. So that's why it's so important to understand firmly the distinction between those realities that can experience an object, the different namas, the cittas and the cetasikas, and those realities that cannot experience anything at all, the rupas, such as the visible object, the eye sense, the sound, the hardness. They cannot experience anything. Body sense cannot experience anything. Only the experiencing, the citta, can experience, associated, accompanied by the different cetasikas.
Yes, thank you, Sarah. Yeah,
I'm
I
sure
think I got
Ajahn
mixed up. Yes.
would be glad to add more to your questions.
While one is sitting and there is seeing, what can be the object of Satipatana? This is a question, please. While one is sitting, lying down, or doing something, what can citta or what can sati be aware of with understanding of that object? What can be the object?
The body touching, like when you're sitting down, the body is touching.
Yes, but can there be the other object instead of body?
I don't know, Ajahn. I don't understand I don't know the answer.
Because you think about the word, about rupa, about seeing, so on. But the
Yes.
truth is that the rupa cannot experience anything at all. And at moment of seeing, the reality which arises and see has no rupa at all. It just arises to experience. So no matter while one is sitting, doing something, cooking and so on, can anything be object of awareness when there is understanding? But when there's no understanding, no condition to understand what is there, so sati cannot arise and be aware because of not understanding anything. But when we use the word Satipatana, it has to be with understanding. Without firm understanding, intellectual understanding about what is there as it is, it's impossible to say or to think that there is awareness or Samasity, direct awareness. It cannot be direct because no understanding of it. But when there is understanding enough, even while one is sitting, walking, what can be the object of understanding or of sati? This is a way to understand what we are talking about, each word. The object of sati and the sati itself, direct sati, samasati, or just sati, which is not direct yet to the object which is there. So it's not just remember the words, but the truth of what is there, whether understanding is there or just thinking about the word. Katayana Satipatana. Instead of thinking about the word, what about the understanding and the sati, which cannot arise without understanding? Because it has to be directly aware of a reality with understanding arising together. to study the true nature of that object in order to understand better and better, clearer and clearer, that what is there as it is. So it's the right considering about that very moment. What we have heard, Kayanupassana Satipatthana, what it is about, it's not just understand the word, but what is meant by Satipatthana. And we understand that there are Nama and Rupa, no one at all. If this is firmly understood, how can there be wrong understanding about the word? So at that moment of walking, sitting, what can be object of direct awareness or Satipatthana? Not the word, but the understanding. Otherwise, it's not the understanding of reality or Dhamma. It's just remember the word the way it is. Explained or by different aspects. But what about the understanding of what is meant by Sati and Satipatthana and the object of Satipatthana, not just being able to name it, whether it is Kayanupassana Satipatthana or what, but the truth is that when there is the understanding of the reality as not self, can that be conditioned for Sati to arise? Just hearing there is Sati, Nama, and Rupa, which cannot experience. And when we take that from head to toe as body, what is the truth of it? To learn about the truth of what is there. Otherwise, there cannot be direct understanding or clear understanding of what is there, which has heard before, has been heard before, see? About Kayanupassana Satipatthana or Sati or Patthana. That's why just learn to understand the reality from the word that Buddha taught about what is there now as it is, until it can directly be aware of the truth, clearer and clearer and clearer, until until it is the moment of directly experience the nature of it, not just the word about it. So the question is just to test how much understanding of the truth which has heard about Nama and Rupa. So at moment while one is sitting, walking, standing, what can be object of Samasity or direct awareness? Do we have to look at the book? Or just the understanding is there enough to understand? So now one is sitting. There is the body, the Rupa and the Nama. So at the moment of sitting right now, what can be object of direct understanding?
Just harnessed.
Really can, and what else can be the object? Only hardness or what?
And the experience.
And what? Anything, not at will.
Seeing, hearing, yes.
This, what are you going to say?
So there's seeing and there's hearing as well
Can it,
at the moment of
can
sitting.
it be object of Satipatthana? The hearing and the seeing right now while one is sitting. while one is sitting, can be hearing, thinking, liking.
No, no, one object at a time. So it's only the experience of touching.
While there is seeing, can the seeing be the object of Satipatana? Or hearing right now? No matter while one sits or stands or what can be object of Satipatana?
So it can be anything.
Right, because they are anatta, even sati. No one can direct it, choose it, have it to arise and be aware of such and such object at will at all. Otherwise, there cannot be the understanding of the truth of all dhammas are anatta. So at moment when sati arises, it's not under anyone's control by conditions. It just arises, just like seeing right now. It arises, whatever appears has a reason by conditions. So the moment when sati is there, it has a reason by conditions. Not just try to be aware of rupa and kaya and think that I'm having kaya nupassana satipatthana. It's not that. Understanding sati as anatta, as any object, as any reality. All realities are Dhamma. Everything, even Nibbana is true, is real. So it is a Dhamma different from the conditioned realities arising and falling away. That's why we learn to understand the truth of what is there. And we just think, if one just think about different words, sati and satipatthana, but no understanding of the difference between sati and satipatthana, and think that one is now having kaya as the object. But is that sati? When there's no understanding or not enough understanding, the difference between sati at this moment, hearing, considering wisely to understand what is there as it is, at moment when it's there. And what about one has heard before? To understand that which is now appearing. Otherwise, it's useless. Why listen to the truth? Because it's there now, but not enough conditions to condition moment of understanding the truth of it. And without direct awareness, it's impossible to understand the nature of that which is there now. That's why, how can it appear as it is without understanding? It's impossible. And what level of understanding? Intellectual understanding is not direct understanding of just one characteristic of a reality. Because when they are together, they cannot appear well or clear at all. In order to understand clearly or clearer, there must be moment of directly beginning to understand the truth of that which is the object, whether it is that which experiences or that which cannot experience, no word at all. It's not thinking, but it's the beginning, patipati, study, developing the understanding of the truth until the nature of that one, which is the object, appear clearly as vipassanayana. But before that, there must be patipati, satipatthana, and before that, there must be the understanding of reality as it is, stage by stage. And when there is awareness of Vedana, of feeling right then, no matter one sits or stands, it doesn't matter. And it's not the moment of experiencing hardness or softness, which is taken from my body as before, but it's the moment of understanding, seeing. So what would you say? Well, there is sitting, and then there is awareness of seeing. What would you say? or Satipatana. While one is sitting and there is moment of studying directly that reality which experiences, which sees, what would you say? What kind of Satipatana?
That's a question for you, Tom. Which of the four is it? We can't hear you.
Sorry, I turned the I was muted the speaker before. It would be the seeing. And one of the four, there are the Kaya, the Vedana, and the Chitta and the Dhamma. So while you're sitting and there is a direct understanding of the seeing.
Is seeing Kaya?
Dhamma, I would say now.
It's Dhamma. Is it
Yes.
Vedana? Is it Vedana?
No,
Is it Chitta?
no.
Seeing? What is Chitta?
Would it be under the Dhamma?
It can be under the Dhamma, but what about the Chitta? What about the Chitta now? Is seeing Chitta? Or what kind of reality is seeing? Because we know the only realities are Chitta, Cetasika, and Rupa, not mentioning Nibbana. So
Seeing would be under the Chitta, yes.
So seeing is Chitta, hearing is
Yes.
Chitta. So even if whether one's sitting cross-legged now or going for a walk or eating lunch, there can be understanding of seeing anytime. So it's Chitta under Chittanupassana, different from Vedana, different from Rupa.
All right. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. This is something new I'm learning. Thank you.
And I think the point that Ajahn is stressing is that anytime, now or when walking or preparing lunch, it just depends on conditions, what the object is, what object appears, what there can be understanding of. If we select an object or have an idea that because they're sitting, there should be awareness of hardness or something that's taken for the body, this is not the understanding of the reality that appears. It's like selecting or thinking it should be a particular reality, because there is seeing anytime, hearing anytime, feeling anytime. So all realities are anatta. So it just depends on conditions, what is experienced, what appears. No order, no selection, no one who can be aware of any object at will.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm very happy to understand this. Thank you.
And just a quick question, Tom. What would be an example of an object of awareness that falls under the first section, Gaya?
Sorry, John, could you please repeat the question again?
Sure. What would be an example of an object of awareness that falls under the first section, namely Gaya, Gayanupassana?
The breathing.
Breathing. Is breathing a reality or concept?
Breathing is a concept. Yes.
So that's not an answer, is it? Because we know that for Satipatana, we're talking about awareness of conditioned realities.
Yes.
Right. So what would be an example of an object of awareness that would fall under the first section, Gaya, Gayanupassana?
Touching.
what reality is touching?
Softness, hardness.
Well, is touching the same as softness, hardness?
Hardness and softness is more like
Yeah,
the
hardness.
rupa.
Right, correct. So that would, if there was awareness of hardness or softness, that is, they're both the same reality, but just different, different detail of the same reality. That would be what is included under Rupanupassana, rupa, right? But touching, when we say touching, we mean the experiencing of hardness or softness. What reality is that? Which of the four? The
Kaya.
experiencing, sorry?
Would that be under Kaya?
Why would it be
Touching.
under Kaya?
Because it's touching the experience.
Well, why would experiencing be under Kaya? Because Kaya, we've said, refers to Rupa.
Oh, yes.
So touching means experiencing hardness or softness or heat or cold. So it's a citta.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So, and as we said earlier, if it's citta, it falls under Cittanupassana, but also under Dhammanupassana, Dhammas, because
Yes.
the last section includes all conditioned realities, whether Nama or Rupa. So hardness or softness falls under Kayanupassana and also under Dhamma, the fourth section, Dhammanupassana. Right? Think about it.
Is that the question for me?
No, I'm just explaining,
Yes.
and I'm
Yes.
wondering if you are able to follow the explanation.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank
good.
you very much. Yes.
Right.
This is something very new. I do not know before. Yes. Thank you.
The important thing to remember, though, is that these four kinds of Satipatana are really just a way of classifying the conditioned realities that can be object of awareness. The important thing is to understand is that when we talk about awareness, we're talking about awareness of conditioned realities.
Yes, like Ajahn said before that I only understanding the term only. So when I read the book explaining about the Satipatana, they classify the four types and the Kaya Patana or something. I thought it was only the body touching is Kaya Patana only. And then there's a different section, there's Vedana.
Yeah, but again, touching is not the body.
Yes, now I understand.
It's the object of touching that
yes.
we take for body. Right.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
good.
Thank you very much. Very happy.
Good.
Can a body touch anything?
No, just an experience, yes.
What is a body?
It's a rupa. It's got many things combined together.
Can rupa touch anything?
No.
No. So only
the citta, yes.
Only the citta can touch. Body cannot touch. Rupa cannot touch. Only the citta can experience. So can the touching be Kayanupassana?
No.
Why not?
It's the citta. The touching is more to do with the citta.
Right. So the touching has to be the citta and the citta isn't included in Kayanupassana, can there be awareness of touching now? Not is there, but can there be awareness of touching now?
Yes,
Is it a reality?
yes.
Right. So it's a reality and it's citta. And what about seeing? Can seeing be Kayanupassana?
It's more to do with the rupa,
Is
or not to do
seeing
with the seeing is the chitta. Yes.
citta? Okay. What about the visible object that is seen? Can there be awareness of visible object, awareness of that which is seen now?
No, the object, no,
Why not?
because it's a rupa.
Can there be awareness of a rupa?
The rupa cannot be experienced, cannot be aware.
No, but can there be awareness of the visible object? Can
Yes.
there be awareness of
Yes.
that which is seen?
Yes.
And the visible object, that which is seen, for example, like now looking at our friends or looking at one's arm, visible object is seen. And what kind of pasana is that?
Sorry, Sarah, what kind of?
Is it Kayanupassana or Chittanupassana or Vedanupassana or Dhammanupassana?
I think it's the chitta.
What the visible object? Can the visible object be citta?
No, cannot. It's a rupa one.
It's a rupa. Okay. So it has to either be kaya or dhamma or kaya and dhamma, but cannot be Chittanupassana. So the point of these questions is just to understand more firmly the distinction between those realities that experience and those realities that don't experience anything, and to understand a little more firmly what is reality, such as the hardness or the softness or the visible object, and what is just a concept, an idea, such as body or breath, because of the different realities that we call body or breath. So when there's awareness and understanding, it's understanding of a reality, of softness, of visible object, of seeing, of hearing, anytime, any place, no selection at all.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yep.
And I just want to make one comment about touching that we've been talking about that may have been a source of confusion for you and for others too when they first hear about this. But in conventional language, when we talk about touching, we're actually just referring to the contact of, say, I say my bottom is touching the chair, right? There's just different kinds of rupa coming into contact. But when we talk about touching in this kind of discussion, we're referring to not to, say, putting my finger on something, but we're referring to what is being experienced at the point of contact. So we're not referring to the physical act of touching, but we're referring to what is being experienced. It's really experiencing through the body sense rather than the conventional idea of touching. And so I just
Yes,
thought
thank
that
you.
there may be a bit of confusion about that. Right?
Yes. Thank you for clarifying that, John. Yes, I had a little bit of confusing about that. Yes.
I have a question that, well, it doesn't flow from this, but it's, I guess, further along. It's from a transcript of a discussion, I think on November the 8th, one that Nina posted recently. I'm going to read it, and I guess I'd like some discussion around it or some clarification. It's a John speaking. If experiencing does not show up as that which experiences, there can be imagination thinking about it. It is not like the mental factors at all. At the moment when it is the object, nothing can be there, only the reality which experiences. The object does not appear because only the characteristic which experiences is there as the object of right understanding. This is why there can be the knowledge of the difference between mindfulness of citta, cittanupassana, satipatthana, and the cetasikas. But they are all dhammanupassana, satipatthana. It can experience clearer and clearer because of the nature of that which is not just the beginning, but it has to be stronger than that to understand. My question, I think, comes from the mental, the experiencing. It says it's not like the mental factors at all. At the moment when it is the object, nothing can be there, only the reality which experiences. So that's at the moment when it is the object of satipatthana. Nothing can be there, only the reality which experiences. The object does not appear because only the characteristics which experiences is there as the object of right understanding. I guess that seems clear, as clear as it can be at this point for me. It's the Jetasikas. What is the difference with experiencing the experience of the Jetasikas?
It's like Tom's the question about seeing. So seeing is the citta. So when seeing is the object of understanding, it's just the characteristic of seeing which appears more and more clearly as Satipatthana develops. Right. So when seeing is the object, there's no understanding of lobha or passa or sanya or Vedana or Rupa or anything else, because it's just the characteristic of seeing which appears for a moment and then gone. Just like when there is understanding of Vedana or Lobha, then no understanding of the citta at that moment. It's just the reality of Lobha. So it's easier to understand from when it's seeing, it cannot be any Cetasika that accompanies it, sanya or passa that appears. And it's even the same when it's the citta which thinks. When it is the citta that is the object, it's distinct. It has a different characteristic to that of any of the Cetasikas that arise together with it. So this is cittanupassana, when it is citta that is the object. And it's also dhammanupassana, because as Jonathan explained, any reality is dhamma, dhammanupassana. So it's just pointing to the understanding of the distinction between citta, which is the leader and experience, and the different Cetasikas. And as Tam Tan said, only one reality at a time can be experienced.
So if for instance, if Vedana is the object of Satipatthana, then there would only be the Vedana. Is that
right.
Experience?
Just that one reality, just the pleasant feeling or the unpleasant feeling, the Vedana, whatever kind of Vedana, nothing that is known about citta, nothing that's known about Lobha, nothing that's known about Sanya, because it's just Vedana, which is the object at that moment. Like now, actually, there's only one reality that is ever experienced at a time, but it's not known except by thinking intellectually. But it's just the same. It's just that the understanding is firmer and firmer. And as Ajahn mentioned in the quote, it becomes clearer and clearer to understand it's just that reality, just Vedana, just that which feels and then gone.
And when you say that only be Vedana, only Vedana as object of awareness,
Yes,
but it's
yes,
not as though the rest of the world disappears
Right.
for that moment. Yeah.
right. Intellectually, we know it's all there. Yeah.
The conventional world doesn't disappear at a moment of just because there is awareness of a reality occurring. Yeah.
Yeah.
The world is just like now at a moment of seeing. The world is just the seeing of the visible object that is experienced. No other world, no house, no husband, no friend, no. It's just the visible object that appears. That's the world. And if there is awareness of Vedana, that's the world, just the Vedana that is experienced at that moment.
Right. And Jonathan, when you say the conventional world doesn't disappear, by that you mean that the
I mean
convention.
that if one is having a conversation and there is awareness of Vedana, it doesn't interrupt the conversation
Okay,
or
thank
anything
you.
like that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Because everything arises so rapidly that there's room for all these different layers of things to be happening. So moments of awareness arising intermingled with the ordinary moments of conceptualizing about the world and understanding what is being spoken by the other person or speaking oneself. It can all happen intermingled and without interfering, if you like, in the other.
Right. Not a showstopper.
But John, if at the moment of sitting there is an awareness of touching come first, and also there's an awareness of seeing, but because of an awareness of touching come first, it happened first. Do you know what I mean? And then before
Yes.
an awareness of seeing come after.
Can you
Sorry,
direct
no, I'm not quite clear. I'll
awareness
let
to
Ajahn
arise?
speak.
To be aware of such and such object first or later? Can anyone manage? Be the manager? Has to do this first and then that, or anatta by conditions. That's why it has to be very firm understanding of what is meant by anatta, not atta. Atta means something, even it's just appearing very shortly, it's still something without understanding. That's why there are so many things, and each is something when there's no understanding. So at moment of being aware of a reality, and we learn from the very beginning, a moment of citta experiences only an object because of ekakata cetasika and the other conditions too. But you see that the idea of something is always there because of the succession of the arising and falling away so very rapidly. Who can make it slower or longer to be known? Impossible. That's why beginning to understand what panya is, the understanding of the truth, even it's now appearing as so many things, but what is the actual truth? It's only that which impinges on the eye base. And what can impinge not the whole table or the whole chair or shoes, only that which impinge on it, like just touching the pencil on the paper, only one dot. But since it arises and falls away so very rapidly, uncountable, Buddha taught about the process of experience and object just from one moment to another moment to another moment. So how many moments are there? And what is meant by citta, experiences an object at a time, at moment when it is aware of feeling, because usually we can understand some kind of feeling which is there, clear or just enough to be known, like dukkha, painful feeling, bodily feeling. We can experience that, no understanding. But when there's understanding enough to understanding it as just a reality, at that moment, can the other object appear too? As now, many objects, while one feels painful, there is also seeing and hearing and thinking. But citta experiences one object at a time. So when there is not enough understanding, how can there be direct awareness of only a reality? And when it's so clear, can other object appears too? At moment of just being aware with understanding of only that particular object, only one. That's why no matter what we call it, when it's a feeling and awareness is aware of it directly with understanding of feeling. So how can we think whether it is Kayanupassana or Dhammanupassana or what? It depends on what is the object. And at moment when Vedana is the object, it is Vedananupassana Satipatana, no matter we call it or not. But it cannot be changed. In English, in Thai, we can use different words, but the truth is the truth. That's why it's not just what it's it under which Satipatthana. It's not the word thinking about the term, but what about the truth? What is the object when it is the body, hardness? It is what we take for body because it's there. But in truth, no one and nothing at all. Hardness is exactly hardness when it's touched. That's all. It cannot be anything. To learn to understand of anatterness, of whatever is there now, little by little. Don't mind about what is the object under the kaya or citta or vedana. But at moment when it experiences only vedana, it's the direct object of awareness. How can it be changed to be kayanupassana or whatever? Just depending on understanding or direct awareness at that very moment. But for example, the moment of having citta as the object, it's not cetasikas, beginning to understand what it's meant by the faculty or the chief of experiencing the characteristic. Citta doesn't have any form, shape, or color, or whatever at all. Think about that. Nothing at all. Only that which arises. No word of shape and form and color or smell or car or mountain or anything. Just that which experiences. So where is the conventional world? As usual, impossible. Even the other world of different reality, which is not that one, cannot appear together. Otherwise, how can it is known clear and clearer as it is at that time? Because it's so very difficult to develop the understanding of no self, because it's there eons and eons ago. Even right now, it's there, unknown. That's why beginning to understand the truth of each characteristic of a reality as it is the beginning of understanding of no one and no thing. But before it can be eradicated, it takes quite a long time to be Hala, can understand the truth at any moment of any object, see, but it has to begin from intellectual understanding about it and understand the difference between Samasity or Satipatana and Sati at moment of understanding intellectually about the truth of reality. For example, even the sound, the word like chitta, if no one understands the meaning of the truth, just hearing the word chitta, but for the one who cannot understand like that language, no understanding the meaning of it, only those who understand it. That's why the Pali language is not for everyone, because in Thai, as a Thai, use the word in Thai, in other languages same. That's why we learn about the truth from the word, no matter in what language, but the truth cannot be changed. That's why the difference between Chitta and Cetasika, it needs, or it must be Panya, which really develop enough to understand. But actually, in a day, there is no thinking about the Chitta at all. Even right now, at moment of seeing or hearing, no thought about Chitta. But when there is life, attachment, craving at that moment, the characteristic of that reality, which we use the word Cetasika, is there, not the Chitta. That's why in a day, sometimes this Cetasika appears, but with the idea of my attachment. See, still cling to the five khandhas at that moment of experiencing as I. That's why before all the clinging to the whatever object is there, be completely eradicated, never to arise again. It takes quite great panya, right understanding, strong enough, firm enough to understand what is there, beginning from hearing. What is Tira Sanya? In a day, not at all. So how can there be moment of direct awareness? But it's not in under anyone's control at all. All depends on conditions, just like this moment and previous moment. Who knows? All depends on conditions. So the moment of direct awareness must be conditioned by Tirasanya, firm understanding, not forgetting the truth that actually what is there is only that characteristic which arises by conditions. But the arising of that characteristic does not appear, does not show up, because Panya is not great or strong enough, firm enough to directly understand the moment when it's there. That's why Buddha taught from the very beginning, the middle, and the end, the different understanding of what is there now. Not just the word, but because of the word, one can understand the meaning of it, which means the reality, different reality, like tanha and avijja, different words, different meaning, different reality. So when it becomes the object directly of awareness, Satipatana, it is not the word, but the character of that, whether it is chitta is the object, or tanha, or lopa, or dosa is there as the object. Because lopa cannot be chitta, dosa cannot be chitta. Because at moment when it's there, no thought about chitta. That's why it cannot be chitta-nupassana satipatthana. But it can be Dhamma-nupassana satipatthana. And what about sanya? At any moment, every moment, it's there. Like chitta, no one think about it. So does it become the object of awareness yet or not yet, depending on conditions, see? But right understanding begins to understand, no matter it is the chitta, the chief of experiencing, the characteristic of the object, and the other cetasika, and the cetasika, attachment and ignorance, since citta experience so clear, lopa is attached to that. But its function is to attach, not to experience like citta. That's why without clear understanding of the difference between citta and cetasika. We just name it and call it, but what about the different characteristic? So at moment when citta is the object of Satipatthana, Lopa and other cetasic does not appear together at all. Just one reality at a time. And from the development of intellectual understanding, it conditions the moment of understanding the nature of that which experiences, but it does not like or dislike, because like or dislike is not citta, because it's not that which just arises to experience the object clearly. Then the other nama, which also experience the object, but not as a chief of experience. So the Chittanupassana Satipatthana and the Vedananupassana Satipatthana is quite different. At moment when it's painful feeling, no idea of thinking about the citta at all, because at that moment the object is the feeling, not that which is the chief of experiencing. It is there, citta experiences, but the Vedana at that moment is so very painful, or it's the object, no thought about the citta. That's why it cannot be Chittanupassana Satipatthana. It depends on the characteristic of the object, whether it is what, whether it is citta or cetasika. Otherwise, we think that it's under this subject, kaya, or under this subject, the Dhamma, and so on. But that's the thinking about the word. But actually, only Panya begins to understand the truth of that which appears, to know that as it is, as no one and nothing. And this is the point of the development of right understanding, to understand the nature which experience and the nature which does not experience. That's why the first vipassana jhana is nama and rupa satipatthana, or nama rupa paricetta jhana. It has to be clearer and clearer. And when it is clear, nothing can be there at all. Only one object. So there's no the word, conventional word, or even it's there as no word, but that cannot be together to be the same moment of that which appears. So Vipassana jhana is quite different from the way it appears in a day, but it's as natural. That feeling cannot be changed, so it depends on right understanding, what degree of the moment when it's there. Panya is not citta, so understanding is not that which is the chief of experiencing, just the object only clearly. No like or dislike, because it's another different reality. That's why it has to be clear from the very beginning to be pariyatti, so firm, so well, to be tira sanya. So tira sanya in a day, see, does it happen sometimes in a day? Depending on conditions. Until then, when the thinking about the word that one has heard before, it's there as that. And the idea of the thinking inward is there too. So each level of the development of right understanding is different when no word, because it's the understanding. And the understanding is not that which is the chief of experiencing. So the understanding of Chittanupassana Satipatthana and the Dhammanupassana Satipatthana is different, because the nature of the object which is there as the object of Satipatthana is different. It doesn't mean that because it's under this subject of classification, so it has to be this and that. Not at all. But the way it is there, experience what as it is. And so we call it, because the citta is the object of Satipatthana. So we call it, or we use the term to understand that at that moment it is not the rupa, but it's the chief which experience the object is there. So nothing can be there. And when the object is not citta, no matter what it is, nothing is together with it as usual, but no understanding when there's no hearing and thinking and understanding firm and firm and firm enough. That's why it's the meaning of tira sanya, not remember the word, but begin to understand that nothing is taken to be permanent thing like I as before, from birth up to now. It's I all the time. But in truth, no one. And this is the meaning of anatta. And sunyata is the moment when it's not there. It's nothing, and then something, and then nothing again, never to arise again. So each word of the teaching of the Buddha is about the truth of the nature of reality, which no one can change because it's there so short and then gone instantly. That's why it takes time to understand what is there as just one reality. Nothing is there. Otherwise, it's not clear to be vipassana. So it's quite different world because what appears more, it has to be minder process. And even that which is seen is the object. It's so very short because it's only that which impinges on the eye base. But minder process follow, experience it, how short it is through minder and sensor. But still, without the sensor, there cannot be that which appears through minder too, as that which is light or that which cannot be taken for anything at all. Only just very short moment, like lightning. So very short and shorter than that, because we know lightning, but the moment when it arises and falls away, no matter what, shorter than that. But Panya is clear enough, so clear enough, and clear more and more, different level of vipassana. But it has to be the first one. And when it's vipassana, how can it be just like now? That's why vipassana doesn't often all arise in a day, but it depends on conditions, whether it is indriya or pala enough to understand. That's why it's the matter of panya developed with understanding the nature of reality as it is not self. Otherwise, it is something that we experience all the time. Arms, eyes, table, and so on. But that is not the nature of that, which can appear as objects through different doorways and very, very quickly, instantly. See, that's why how long it will be the moment when Panya is strong enough to be aware with understanding until it appears to Panya directly as it is. Otherwise, there cannot be the enlightenment because Buddha showed the way to the four Ariya Satya, including the path. By then, no doubt that it has to begin from hearing again and again and again to become Tirasanya. And when it's not Tirasanya yet, one knows that that is not enough. That's why no wish to hurry to have it very soon, very quickly in years of life, but it depends on understanding. So to know that this is under the subject of kaya or vedana or citta, it's not the word, but not the way, the moment when it is the object, that it cannot be changed. When the object is citta, it is not cetasika. But usually there is no thinking about it. It's always forgotten. No matter we hear about it, it's there now, every moment in life. Even right now, is not known, because when painful feeling is there, we know. Pleasant feeling is there. There can be that, and the moment of just understanding the difference between the two, but it's still my feeling, so very pleasant or so very painful. But actually, it cannot belong to anyone, because it arises by conditions and then instantly gone, never to arise again, never be the same. So where's the I? And as avijja, ignorance, moha, and attachment is there eons and eons ago. So the development of understanding, it takes quite longer, because no need to develop avijja is there, but to develop right understanding against the current of all kilesa, it takes quite a long time. But the truth is that it can eliminate ignorance. It can completely eradicate akusala. That's why it's greater, powerful, much more than akusala. But when there's no understanding, akusala is so very powerful, because it's conditioned to arise more and more, on and on, very often. But panya takes time to understand the truth that we are talking about, what is there now appearing, to understand the nature of each reality as it is, not self, not anything. And when we use the term Kayanupassana Satipatana, it's the understanding what is taking for my body. In truth, it's not. That's why as long as we take the body, this body, as my body, not understanding the truth, but actually it's just like any moment of hardness here and there, not just at the body. That's why the idea of my body is there. But when there is hardness of not the body, it is under Dhamma Discussion Mon. But all Adhamma, arising and falling away, never to return.
And Tam, when you said a little while ago, when sitting, there can be awareness of this and then this and then this. But what about when cooking or driving or getting angry with your family member, or anytime, any place? That this is the whole point. While one thinks about a particular position or location or time or order, then this is the strong clinging to the idea of self. It's not the understanding of reality that has to develop naturally. It's the idea of following a process or a method or a practice. So what we're talking about is anytime, any place. Who knows when understanding can pop up, can arise, and understand that which appears without selection or prior thought of what will be the object of awareness. Otherwise, it's all self all the time, not the natural development of understanding and awareness. So no need to think about at this time or that time, or in this place or that place, or which object should be the object of awareness, because this all hinders the development of awareness and understanding.
Thank you, Sarah. Yep.
We're so used to looking for a method or a way to learn something or do something. but the development of understanding is the understanding that there is no method, no practice, nothing that I can do at all. It's just the very careful and wise considering about different realities that conditions understanding to develop little by little without expectation or choice or selection or special time or place.
Kun Anne, do you have still some question about this?
We can't hear you, Anne.
About Buddha experiences only one object at a time.
Yes.
So when it's clearly understood, appearing to the highly developed panya, only one object is there. And what about the world? The conventional world and what is there in the world is lost completely.
Yeah.
It
For
can
that
rise
moment.
together and be object at the same time, just one object at a time. But it
Yes.
is the nimitta of that particular object.
Yes. Yes. Just one at a time. And when there isn't that understanding at that moment, then what we refer to as the conventional world is again what is, there isn't a conventional world, but we refer to it as the conventional world, the world with, ignorance, and that's there. That so it's the understanding is well, I guess it's momentary, but it's only there for as long as there's understanding of that one object.
Even when it is the direct awareness or Satipatana, in the beginning, when it's not strong enough, many things is as natural. And Satipatana begins to be aware just of a reality, but the other reality appears as right now, just right now, because it's not clear enough to let go the idea and the thinking about other things, because it is a moment of citta, the reality which no one can control, experience only one object with level of understanding, whether it is what degree. In the beginning, when sati is just right now, it can be directly aware of a reality, but the other object appears too. That's why it's not as clear as when it's developed to let go the other thinking about that, which follows instantly. That's why the truth is not easily known, because it has to develop to understand it little by little, truthful to the truth from the very beginning. And what is the beginning of Satipatana? And when it's the Katayana, it's not only the beginning Satipatana. That's why nothing can be there. So what is the world? Only one object with that which experiences it. And they are quite different. That which experience and that which is the object of experiencing.
Yes. It was interested, John, when you said it in the beginning, there can be moments of sati with some understanding, but very not clear.
Right.
But it takes many moments. Well, it takes
and
more.
why, yeah. And why it doesn't appear clearly? Because other object is still there. By the citta which follows an experience one object at a time. So each object appears as usual, but there can be a moment of understanding that direct awareness of a reality is there. Not many moments, but it's still different from the moment of just hearing about it. That is the beginning of understanding. Panya is there to understand the different moments between the pariyatti and the patipatti. So panya, from the understanding intellectually, is not strong enough in the beginning. It is as strong as it can condition moment of Satipatana, but not very often, see? Not skillful yet. Because there are so many realities to learn to understand its truth as its different ones. Otherwise, that cannot be the first vipassana jhana, the clear comprehension of the truth of that which is not I or anyone at all. It just arises to experience. No one can control the anattana develop on and on too. When panya, when the object appears clear to panya, which is clear and clear. When panya is not strong enough, the characteristic of that which is as it is does not appear yet, because it's so very rapidly like now.
Ajahn, for the Arahants, do they have Satipatthana all day? They see.
That's
They
why we
see.
learn to understand how many cittas Arahata have. Can there be Mahakriya Citta without Panya?
I suppose no.
You mean that how many cittas Arahatas have?
How many cittas?
Mahakriya Citta, right? Not Kusala anymore. But how many Mahakriya Citta for an Arhata have? Otherwise, we just think in our own way, not listen to the teachings of the word of the Buddha, the enlightened one. What does it mean? Can anyone now experience Sampatichana Santirana, Panchatavara Vachana? See, that's why what is there is just some part of life, some moments of citta, not all moments at all. That's why there is nimitta of seeing, and when we say of that which experiences of citta, it includes any citta arising from moment to moment, but they do not appear. Only seeing now, experience the object can be known, because it's that which performs the function of seeing, while the other citta does not perform the function of seeing. So it just share of experience the same object, but it does not perform the function of seeing. Sampatichana does not perform the function of seeing, but it just receives the object. What does it mean? It means that Sampatichana does not see, but it has the same object as seeing by condition. What arises after seeing, it has to be only Sampatichana, and it has the same object, but it cannot see because it performs the function of receiving the object that seeing sees. See, that's why what appears in daily life is not all reality. It's just some reality. So many rupas, but only how many rupas appears as the object? 7 rupa. And how many cittas appearing? No one knows about. Panchatavara Vachana and so on. Only seeing is there. So what appears as the nimitta of the reality, which experiences because Panchatavara Vachana also experience objects. Patichana, Sampatichana, Santirana, Bodhapana also experience. But the nimitta of that which experience appear as moment of seeing. But there are many other moments too, which experience the same object as seeing. And if Buddha didn't teach, who knows? That's why learning to understand the meaning of each word, what is meant by nimitta, even of solidity or hardness or taste or whatever is there as nimitta. Many moments enough to be known as one characteristic of one kind of reality. So now it's the development of sanya to be thira, sanya, firm, sanya of no one and no thing. And how can it be known as firm enough? At moment of Satipatana, and by then there's no doubt about what's meant, what Buddha said about Satipatana. There must be a right understanding of the characteristic which appears as the object, but it's not as clear as when it's developed more than this. Much more. Until it's so common in daily life. Otherwise, how can the akusala in a day be eradicated if it's not known? But no selection, no choice at all by conditions. So it is the firm confidence of anatta.
So
That's why
Tom,
the world of the absolute reality is different from the world of concept.
now at moments of seeing and hearing and sampatichana, santirana, other vipaka-citas like these, can there be satipatthana? Can there be direct understanding of a reality at those moments?
If there is an understanding, so it can be a moment like that.
At moments of seeing, how many chaitasikas arise with seeing?
Minimum, there's minimum 7 universal ones.
And what
And
about
there are
maximum? At moment of seeing, only 7 chaitasikas, no panya, no sati at that moment. So there cannot be understanding at the moment of seeing or hearing. The vipaka-citas that just arise with those 7 universal chaitasikas. So for an arahat, the same. At those moments, there cannot be understanding, there cannot be satipatthana. And what about now when there's kindness to a child or an insect or our friends, or giving our friend an offering at those moments of kindness or giving? Can there be satipatthana, those same moments of kindness or giving, when the object is the other being's welfare?
I think so, because it's the kusala chitta.
Kusala
And there's,
citta, but
and there's sati in there, and there's sati.
can't do all kusala cittas arise with, sati has to arise with all kusala cittas, but does panya have to arise with all kusala cittas?
No.
No. And what about in the case of an arahat? It's the same. So there can be kusala citas with panya and without panya. There can be kusala citas with panya that have concept as object. There can be kusala citas with panya that is the direct understanding of reality. So by understanding a little bit more about different kinds of citas, then it answers the question that impossible, even for an arahat, even for the Buddha, to have Satipatana all the time. Even the Buddha's seeing or hearing cannot arise with understanding. So Satipatana can only arise when it is the direct understanding of a reality, when the reality is the object, and only when there is understanding.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
We need to leave now, so see you all next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you both. See you next week. Does anyone have any other topics they'd like to raise or questions? Comments? Azita or Sundara, Tadao? Sukin? Ajahn, I'd like to go back for just a minute. I'd like to go back, if you don't mind, for just a minute to something you said just a few minutes ago when we were speaking. The sati and panya that can arise together initially as sort of the very beginning of Satipatana is the object is not very clear, and did I understand you to say it's such a brief moment or moments that other objects, other things appear not at the same time because they can't, but because it's so weak. And then is it, as it develops, the sati and panya develop further moments of satipatana, the object of satipatana becomes clearer and clearer. And at that point, would it be that the moments, because it's so much clearer, it doesn't seem as if other objects are present at the same time, whereas at the beginning it does.
In a day, well, even now, listening to what someone's talking, do you think of other things sometimes?
Yes.
So can there be moment of Satipatthana sometime in between?
Yes.
Where the other object is still just like now, appear together, many things and all at once, really, not just one by one as it truly is.
That's right.
That's why when Panya is there, it's different from when Satipatthana does not arise. So Panya knows the difference between moment of listening and the thinking, usually about that which is heard, and sometimes not about that which is heard by conditions. So when Satipatthana is the moment of being aware of a characteristic by conditions, just like the next moment from now would be, we don't know, but it is conditioned to arise. So Satipatana can arise and be aware of any object by conditions, right? Just like now, not always. Like sometimes we think of other things while listening. So at that moment, it can be moment of Satipatana, who knows? But the object appears as usual, as when you hear someone speaks, and sometimes at moment of thinking about other thing, there's no hearing of the sound which is heard at all. See, because it does not hear the sound, but it thinks about other things. So at that moment, one object at a time, but comparing about to understand this moment, there is not just seeing, they're thinking of different words too, different story, but there is still seeing, right?
Yes.
So the same as when Satipatthana begins to arise, it experiences the characteristic of an object, just like when you think about other things, while the other appear, but while the other things, the other object also is there too, right? The same, until what we mean by clear or highly developed. It means that panya is strong enough not to attend to other object at all. Because right understanding begins to develop the understanding of the object of Satipatthana only. Otherwise, it cannot be more understanding of that object. Just like now we talk about seeing the reality which experiences the object, is it the object of understanding directly yet?
No.
See, until then, because anything can be object of Satipatthana, depending on conditions. Otherwise, there wouldn't be Chittanupassana Satipatthana, because usually it's forgotten. That's why there is Chittanupassana Satipatthana, when the understanding of that which is the chief of experiencing now, every moment is there, unnoticed, no attention, no thought about it. But when it's time, it's moment of understanding directly of that, not the attachment or thinking about other things, feeling such and such, or remember other things. But at that moment, it begins to be aware of the reality which now sees as that which experiences. And the moment of hearing, the moment of experiencing, the sound, because the sound appears as different sound, the sound of your voice, of the other, many things, the sound of music and so on, all different. But the experiencing cannot be changed because its factor, its function, it's only just to arise to experience only. So it experiences clearly, but not like panya, no understanding, just experience the object which is there, clear than the other nama, than any cetasika, because each cetasika cannot perform the function of citta. Otherwise, they are together and no one think about that which experiences the object clearly. Because at moment of that is clinging, attachment, the characteristic of attachment is that it likes so much. So what about citta, which experience the object? It does not appear to be the object at all. That's why learning to understand from the very beginning the difference between citta and cetasika will condition moment of being aware of citta, not of any cetasika, which appears sometimes a feeling or like or dislike or chanda and whatever is there. Otherwise, there can never be the moment of experiencing citta directly as Satipatthana to be known that it is a chief of experiencing an object. It does not like, it doesn't hate, it does not doubt, but it experiences only the object from birth to death, never changed its function. That's why even citta and cetasikas can experience an object arising together, experience the same object, but different function. Since Citta experience so clear, the Cetasika which arises with it attach or dislike the object. See? So it's not just the word being aware of Citta as Cittanupassana Satipatthana. It is moment of clear understanding, beginning from the moment when it is Satipatthana and when it's not Satipatthana. Otherwise, Satipatthana cannot develop on and on, little by little.
Thank you.
Not very.
Sure.
Yes, please.
Oh, I said thank you.
Okay. I appreciate your understanding. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very helpful, Ajahn. Very helpful.
I'm also very subtle.
Yes, for sure.
If there's not enough understanding of the subtlety of reality, it cannot condition moment of directly aware. See, by conditions, who can control it? Who can make it arise? The direct awareness of a reality right now. No conditions, it cannot arise. And condition is the understanding from hearing, considering, and learning more. And not forget that the truth is that no me, no one, nothing at all. Only that which appears at moment with the right conditions, no matter sound, smell, or whatever. Very, very short world of each dwara, or sensor and minder. And what we have learned becomes true. Even the sensor and the minder, and what is meant by the minder, experience the same object as sensor. See, by conditions.
Mhm.
That's why when it's minder, it can experience whatever experienced by sensor, any sensor from moment to moment. But no doubt about minder, because minder appears to the developed panya. So it experiences the object clearer, because it can experience even that which does not appear as sight or visual object. And this is now, until panya develops enough. Otherwise, Buddha didn't teach. But since it can be known, it can be developed with patience and all other parami.
You said something just a second ago about the object not appearing as sight or visible object, and that's when there's no understanding.
Okay, when you ask anyone who hasn't any idea of the truth at all, what is seen, see, what would that person say?
You, me, the house.
See, is it true?
No.
That's why. What is the truth? The absolute truth of what is there cannot be known by oneself without hearing the words about the truth from the Buddha and develop the understanding that in life actually what is there is not permanent from moment of birth. And we have no idea about that at all. It seems like it's there all the time, me, mine, all the time. See, but actually, without the I sense, I base, can there be that which is seen appearing just right now? See, this is the truth, the absolute truth. That's why I learn to understand what is there, not thing, not candle, not carpet, not anything, only that which can appear when it impinges on the eye base, and the whole solidity of that which is taken for a table or even the iPhone cannot be as it is. Only the idea of that which arises and falls away enough to condition the mark or the symbol or the image of that which is taken from different colors. So it becomes different shape. See? That's why when it's not just anything, only the moment, very short moment of seeing, see? The understanding of that which is seen can be known, clear, that actually what is seen, there must be many, many moments of seeing, conditioned by its proper condition. That's all. Conditioned world arising and falling away. So another meaning of the world is anything which is real, which arises and falls away. Because whatever arises has to fall away. Nothing which arises can stay on at all. It cannot last. So very short. And it can be known. This moment, seeing is not hearing, but no understanding of how short it is. Moment of seeing and moment of hearing and moment of thinking. Just learn to understand the truth of life from birth to death.
Thank you.
That's why just one word can be object of thinking, thought about it carefully, wisely to understand the truth of it. Like Dhamma, see, the truth of it is it cannot be taken for anything because it's so short, just arises and falls away. Otherwise, there's no world. But so many worlds arising and falling away by conditions appears as different things. In truth, nothing is there. Consider it, develop the understanding of the truth until it's firm enough, thira sanya in Pali, to condition moment of directly understand the characteristic which is not anything at all. Hardness is always hard when it's touched. Sound appears only when there is hearing. And where's the eye? Moment of seeing is gone, moment of hearing is gone, moment of thinking is gone. Never last at all.
Jan, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Can you explain a little more about Tira Sanya? Because I think I only understand it as firm Sanya, but it seems to be quite important to the arising of Sati or Satipatana. So can you explain a little more about Tira Sanya?
Yes, because now we have some understanding of reality which appears as it's not permanent, right?
Yes.
But the impermanency, the arising and falling away of any one which now appearing does not appear at all, right? So the truth is different from what it appears to ignorance. And whenever there is no understanding of the truth, ignorance is there all the time, taking something permanent. Yesterday, today, tomorrow, the same thing, but actually it's not. And if there's no considering of the truth right now, that seeing is not hearing. So that which is seen is not that which is heard. And the moment of seeing gone, the object which is seen has to be gone too, never lasts. So the next or other moment of seeing, experience the new object, which is the visible object. But actually there must be the four primary rupas, Mahabhuta Rupa, Otherwise, there cannot be any rupa at all. So each rupa depends on Mahaputta Rupa. Even that which can be seen is there together with the Mahaputta Rupa, but it's not hard. It can just be seen that it's a reality. It's there when it appears. No one can change it, but it's hardly known because without hearing, the idea of something is there. So ignorance and attachment is always there. No understanding of the truth. So tira sanya is sanya which change from taking what it says so permanent as it seems to be, because it appears again and again almost exactly the same, or we think that it's the same all the time. But in truth, it cannot be the same when there's the understanding of the lifetime or the shortness of the object which is there. That rupa lasts for 17 moments of citta, and one moment is so very short. So how short the rupa just arises and falls away instantly, we can say, almost instant. As soon as it has risen, then it's gone all the time. Who knows? But is that not true? See, consider the truth little by little, to have the sanya of anatta, nothing, no one and nothing, only different object is conditioned to appear as something which is not right, because it cannot be anything. It's shorter than that. And this is tira sanya, to understand the truth of what is there appearing now, in order to directly understand just one reality. Because when they are together, how can any reality appear clearly? Impossible. Only when it's only one, there can be the understanding, developing the truth of that as it is. Hardness is not sweet. Hardness is hard, and sweetness, sweet is sweet. It's not hard at all. It's a true tirasanya. Must and remembers that everything has its characteristic to be different one by different conditions. So how can there be anyone control anything or make choice to have such and such at will? Impossible. Beginning to understand that even birth cannot be controlled, and what are conditions for such different birth as snake and bird and people and deva, see, or Brahma, see, all by conditions unknown, until understand the different characteristic of what appears as it is. For example, there is cetana arises with each citta, but it's different according to what arises with it. Akusala cetana or kusala cetana, or for arahata, no more akusala and no more kusala. What is wholesome cannot condition its result as usual as kamma, kusala kamma, because that which cannot produce result, so it is kiriya, does not condition any result after having no kilesa. But what arises after becoming arahata? By conditions. That's why before the arahata's death, there must be condition for whatever is seen and hear and so on, as usual, but no kilesa, no kusala, see. That's why learning the truth about what is there in a very short moment from the Buddha's enlightenment and teachings about the truth, for the others to consider, to realize the truth, to develop the enlightenment of the truth, because it can be enlightened, but not by anyone wrong understanding. I can try or I can do, because actually that is wrong understanding, a reality which is different from right understanding. See, we study just what is there in the day, from birth to death, from moment to moment, to know the truth, the absolute truth, what is meant by the absolute truth. Paramata Dhamma, the Dhamma or Dhammas is so real, nobody can change the way it is, the characteristic which is there as to be different, impossible. And that is the meaning of Paramada Dhamma. But it's so very, very deep, very, very subtle. That's why Dhamma is Abhidhamma, because of its subtlety. Right now, just now, the arising and falling away of what is there does not appear at all. What appears now arises and falls away instantly, all the time. This is the subtlety of reality, of the teachings of the Buddha about the absolute truth of what is there as not self. Study each word, understand the meaning, that all about this moment, what is there now, to understand the truth, learning to understand whether it's true or not. No matter what we would like to see, to experience, it depends on conditions, whether it can be the object to be experienced or not. Little by little, develop the Tira Sanya, firm confidence, the firm Sanya of the truth.
Yeah, so
Otherwise, I can never be the Satipatana.
So Tira Sanya only applies to Paramatta Dhamma, one characteristic at a time. Is that right?
Satipatana only.
Yeah.
Because it's the Sanya which is different from the ordinary Sanya with ignorance. It is the beginning to understand the absolute truth as anicca, dukkha, anatta. See? It has to be firm, not me. Seeing arises and fall away. Thinking arises and fall away. Like or dislike arises by conditions and then fall away. But no one can stop its arising because there are still conditions for its arising to be lopa, very strong, depending on conditions, as long as one is not anagami yet.
Okay, that clarifies it. Thank you.
And that is Tira Sanya, whether it's firm enough or Tira enough.
Yes.
And
Okay.
to know that it begins to be a little more or enough is moment of Satipatana. Without the intellectual understanding, there's no condition for Satipatana to directly aware of the truth of the nature of that which is now appearing, one by one. Otherwise, nothing can be known because they are all together. But clear comprehension is just one at a time because they are different characteristic of each one. Lopa cannot be citta, cannot be dosa, cannot be cetana, cannot be phassa. See? And what which does not appear cannot be known. For example, who tries to experience sampatitana, santirana, or panchatavaravattana? It is lopa and ignorance because it does not understand what is there, which is not the sampatitana or santirana, because what appears now is seeing, which performs the function of seeing, only reality, which can perform the function of seeing. So it is nimitta of reality which experiences, as that is the reality which sees, which means experiences what is seen. That which hears is the reality which experiences what is there at moment of hearing. Sound is there. Just the truth of each moment.
So many things have to be just right.
Yes, from the very beginning.
Yes.
But no conditions to have Samasity to arise at will, at all, or as one wishes. All depends on conditions. So when it arises, no doubt about what is meant by Samasity. It's right because it attends or it is aware of the characteristic which is no one and no thing, no self at all.
Yes. And that comes from Tira, Sanya, and Panya.
Yes. So we learn to understand the deep meaning of what is heard like Tira Sanya about the truth for Satipatana. When Sanya of the reality, no one at all, is enough, there can be condition for direct understanding unexpectedly. The moment of what is there as unexpected, confirm or develop firm confidence of the truth of no one at all, because it's there by conditions, unexpectedly. Everything is unexpectedly, even next moment. It can be death, it can be whatever is there right now after the previous moment, by conditions.
Yes, and it's also, I think, related to the fact that it has to be right now. Tira Sanya cannot apply to something that happened long ago. It's
Because
right.
that is the idea of I, because no understanding of what is there when it is actually there. Right
Yeah, it
now,
has to be
it's
right
actually
there.
there. And right understanding develops to be Tira Sanya from moment of hearing the truth. Consider the truth carefully, wisely, to understand whether it's true or not. And right understanding, understand what is true and what is not true. For example, Chitta cannot be any Cetasika.
Yeah, yeah.
And it can be known at moment of seeing right now, hearing right now, thinking right now. And it's different from sanya. See, each one is so very subtle. Each one is so different by conditions. That's why when they are together, arising together, it cannot be known clearly when there's no understanding of each one. That's why we learn to understand each word, which represents a reality, each reality, one by one. Chitta is not Cetasika. Otherwise, the I is still there at moment of seeing, because no understanding of seeing as it conditioned. And it's only that at moment of what is there is experience. So the experience is the what we say, chitta, the chief of experience, what is there through idol. Everything can be studied because it's there, ready to study. But when there's no hearing the truth, it's ready for ignorance and attachment instantly, asava, after 3 moments after seeing. Sampatitana Santirana Votapana, and then asava, who knows, just 3 moments after seeing. And no need to try to eliminate it, wrong understanding. But the understanding itself, little by little, eliminate ignorance and attachment. Kamasava, Pavasava, Tittasava, Avijjasava. depending on the degrees of understanding.
So many details to know.
Yes, because without understanding the details, who knows that it's at any moment why there is the feeling or this, what we think about, I see, I hear, I think, because it is the bhavasava. After seeing is there. That's right. It seems the self is there. See, hear, and on, experience an object. But actually, it's the kamasava, bhavasava, tittasava, avijjasava. Follow instantly after 3 moments, after sampatitana, santirana, and votapana. So the study of the teachings of the truth like now is so very careful, considering at moment when it's there. No I, that's why Buddha taught about different cetasikas arising with different citta, one by one. And in a moment, each conditions the other. Even they experience the same object, but they have their own characteristic and function. That's why citta is not cetasika. It just citta experiences only.
Thank you, Ajahn. This has been a wonderful discussion. Very valuable.
สวัสดีค่ะทุกคน